Welcome to the global trailblazing paths across our world. In Kazakhstan, $600 doesn't buy you a night out. It buys you a month of wild freedom. Here, a 50-cent cappuccino warms your hands while a Mercedes hums past Soviet-era blocks. Strangers you've never met invite you in, pour you cheap vodka, and tell you secrets that never leave these cold streets. This isn't Europe's polished postcard. It's a raw playground where stunning women walk like queens, and the nights never ask permission. So ask yourself, would you trade your safe paycheck for a place where $600 is enough to get lost, to feel alive, to taste a life unplanned stay? Because what waits after sunset will cost you your sleep. Kazakhstan, a name you've heard but never really pictured. A land stitched together by endless steppes, snow-capped giants, Soviet ghosts, and smiles that feel warmer than the sun in winter. It's where Asia's raw heartbeat meets Europe's forgotten edge, and where living cheap doesn't mean living small. It means living wide open. Most travelers skip this map stain, chasing cities with better hashtags. But here, a simple street corner can serve you a feast for coins. A stranger's glance can turn into a midnight adventure, and every block hides a contradiction begging to be tasted. Why should you care? Because what this place gives for pennies, others can't sell for gold. Freedom to roam, to taste, to linger where the world still feels untamed. But what no one expects, not even the locals, is what happens when night falls. Neon flickers, and the real Kazakhstan wakes up hungry for your sleep. Street food. Forget fancy menus here. Flavor lives on street corners and costs less than your morning coffee back home. For under $1, you hold a steaming skewer of shashlik, grilled over open coals while old Kazakh men argue about politics under flickering bulbs. The smoke clings to your jacket like a memory you can't shake off. One street over, a woman with a floral scarf folds manti-plump dumplings bursting with spiced lamb. She smiles without saying a word, hands you a paper plate, and for a moment, you taste her whole life family, history, survival wrapped in soft dough. In Kazakhstan, cheap food doesn't mean compromise. It's abundance disguised as simplicity. It's how strangers become friends when you share a table on a cracked sidewalk, warming your hands over tea poured from battered kettles. And when you're full, the city doesn't let you rest. It whispers more flavors, more corners, more ways to stretch a single dollar until it feels like a ticket to freedom. But what's a feast worth if you don't have a throne to rest on after dining like royalty? In Kazakhstan, you can dine like royalty for the price of a drive-through burger back home. Slip inside a warm, family-run cafe on a snowy street, and $10 buys you a table overflowing with plates, crisp salads dusted with dill, steaming bowls of beshbarmak, boiled meat, and pasta that tastes like old traditions passed down by firelight. At night, swap the cafe for a velvet-lined restaurant where a waiter in a pressed white shirt brings you lamb steaks seared to perfection and pours cheap Georgian wine that tastes like freedom. There's no hurry here. People linger, laugh, refill each other's glasses like they've got all night and nowhere else to be. The shock isn't the price. It's that you get luxury for less. Not just food, but the feeling of being treated well, of not counting coins before dessert. Every bite reminds you that here, money stretches further than your excuses, So you eat like a king. But where does a king lay his head when the feast ends? Stay cheap, sleep rich. A bed is just a bed until Kazakhstan turns it into a secret worth bragging about. For the cost of a movie ticket in New York, you sink into fresh sheets inside a wooden guest house overlooking the snow-dusted Tian Shan. The walls creak with old stories. The kettle hisses in the hallway, and you feel strangely at home, in a place you've never been. In the cities, boutique hotels hide behind plain facades. Walk through a squeaky door, and you find yourself in a cozy room glowing warm with rugs, embroidered blankets, and a window that frames distant peaks like a painting no one can steal. Here, comfort is cheap because pride is priceless. Local hosts fuss over tiny details: a warm bowl of soup, an extra blanket, a smile that says, "Stay a little longer." You don't pay for luxury, you live inside it, quietly. And when you wake up rested, full of borrowed dreams, the road outside hums with more surprises. Because here, travel doesn't stop at the doorstep, it rides with you, for pennies at a time. So where to next, when every mile costs pocket change? Moving for pennies. In Kazakhstan, distance doesn't drain your wallet, it stretches your freedom. For less than a single subway swipe in New York, a battered city bus rattles you through Almaty's maze of snowy streets. Outside the fogged-up window, Soviet blocks blur into neon cafes, quiet parks, and surprise street markets that pop up like secrets. Hail a taxi. And your driver, probably blasting old Russian pop, might teach you a word or two in Kazakh. Throw in a story about his uncle's horse, and drop you off across town for spare change. Here, every ride is a short adventure stitched to the next. Even long journeys don't punish your pocket. Sleeper trains rumble through frozen steppes for the price of a cheap dinner, carrying you to distant villages where time slows and the land opens wide. The roads here don't just connect cities, they link you to the next hidden bite, the next unexpected smile, the next night you weren't planning for. But what happens when you stop moving? Step off the bus and see who's waiting to meet your gaze. Women, beauty and confidence. Step off the bus and you see it instantly. Beauty here doesn't hide. It walks past you on quiet streets. Hair catching winter light. Eyes locked forward with a confidence that turns heads and silences excuses. Kazakh women are not just beautiful, they're a fusion of empires. Silk roads and steppes. Look closer. High cheekbones borrowed from Siberian winds. Dark hair trailing secrets from Persian traders. Posture sharpened by generations of proud nomads who never bowed easy. In cafes, they laugh with friends, eyes fierce and soft, all at once. In markets, they haggle like warriors, sleeves rolled up, phone in one hand, tomorrow's plan in the other. Their beauty isn't an invitation, it's a declaration: I am enough. On my own terms. Maybe you came for cheap meals and wild nights, but the real price of Kazakhstan is here in the way these women remind you that strength can look like silk, and freedom can wear lipstick. Yet when the sun dips behind snow peaks and neon signs flicker awake, their world transforms again. And if you think daylight shows you everything, wait till you see what the nights dare you to find. Wild nights, hidden clubs. By day, Kazakhstan feels quiet, almost polite, but when the sun bows out, The real heartbeat kicks in underground. Slip through an unmarked door behind a noodle shop and find a basement pulsing with bass that rattles your chest like a second heartbeat. Here, strangers become dance partners without asking your name. Cheap vodka flows like water. Neon lights cut through shadows. And old Soviet concrete vibrates with new freedom. The DJ doesn't smile, but the crowd does, raising glasses to no tomorrow. It's not the kind of night where you check your watch or your wallet. Cover charge. Maybe $5, drinks less than a street snack back home. But the energy is priceless raw, unfiltered, stitched together by beats and borrowed secrets. In this hidden world, language melts you, laugh with a Russian backpacker, toast with a Kazakh local, lose yourself for hours that feel like minutes. The nights here don't just keep you awake, they remind you what it means to be reckless for cheap. But when you stumble out at dawn, pockets lighter, heart heavier, you'll find the real secret waiting far beyond these city lights. In the end, Kazakhstan isn't just another budget escape. It's a reminder that freedom can live in the simplest places: a steaming street snack, a stranger's laugh under cheap neon, a quiet bed warmed by stories you'll never hear twice. Here, $600 doesn't chain you to corners and coupons. It buys you nights too wild to plan and mornings too honest to fake. It buys you conversations with women who walk like history and cities that turn into villages when you leave the highway behind. It's the kind of place that asks for nothing but your curiosity and gives back more than your wallet ever could. A ride, a meal, a dance, a snow-covered trail, none of it polished for tourists. All of it raw enough to remind you why you left home in the first place. So maybe Kazakhstan isn't where you come to spend money, it's where you come to spend yourself, your time, your breath, your fear of the unknown. And when you board that cheap bus back to the city lights, you carry more than souvenirs. You carry proof that $600 can still buy you a story worth telling. So tell me this, would you trade your safe weekend for nights that blur the line between cheap and priceless? Would you live wild on $600 and wake up with nothing but a story? Comment. Yes, Kazakhstan. If you'd dare to taste this freedom for yourself. And don't stop here. Next up, the land of the most unique women in the world. Links in the pinned comment. Welcome to the Global Trail, where we blaze paths across our world.